In 2020, majority of world has crossed into the online world. While the biggest companies started to work online on different platforms, teachers and students got acquainted with YouTube, the best platform for videos. Back then, I started to actively use this platform, sometimes for learning, sometimes for procrastinating, or for motivation. In 2021, I became a YouTube creator, and in 2022, the majority of my day is devoted for that platform. Today, I will not discuss my experience with YouTube as a creator, but as a viewer and student. I will share with you my personal experience with that platform. Also, I will reveal several mistakes that I did that prevented me from great results. And I will share with you some tips, and actually I will try to convince you why YouTube is probably the best source of your lectures and lessons. If you're interested in that topic, continue watching this video. The first reason to use YouTube as a source of lessons and lectures is that the information is taught there in easier and more understandable way than in the classrooms. Of course, it all depends, and maybe your professor from the university or teacher from school is pretty skillful and is able to explain each and every item in the best way, but in my own experience, my teachers from my school are not that skillful, and quite frequently I cannot understand everything that they try to explain. And I remember when I was at school, I came back home and opened the book and started to read everything from a blank slate because I didn't understand anything at the school. So in that case, YouTube was more helpful for me, but of course it all depends. I also have an ability to watch YouTube videos. You can enhance the comprehension of complex concepts on grounds that certain subjects are hard to explain, but videos can better illustrate these hard concepts and ideas. Visual contexts help learners to easily acquire and retain knowledge, as well as develop specific skill sets, as demonstration is the most effective way to get a message across. Second reason, in order to shorten their videos, bloggers tend to provide short and sweet information, as succinct data. They give a right to the point speech and usually do not digress from the topic. That usually happens in schools. For example, I remember my history teacher. I really appreciate this man. He is pretty talkative and he can explain each and every item really cool, but he had a bad habit of digressing from the topic all the time, and quite frequently we ended up with listening to his stories from life. So that's probably not the best thing when it comes to team management and effectiveness. So bloggers usually don't do that. They give right to the point data. Yeah, sometimes it is too shortened, so that we should use extra websites and sources in order to understand the topic, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. The third reason why YouTube is really a good platform is the comments. Comments are a good way to create the learning community and promote online discussions. You can easily communicate with other learners who eventually can help you with something, and you can help with something either. Discussing concepts can test your comprehension. For example, when someone tries to ask you some question about a particular topic, but you understand that you cannot teach it, that means that you should probably repeat this information because you do not understand it on the level that is required. So that's a really cool thing. You can test yourself, you can test others. Also, learning community can easily motivate you to study. And I remember that at the beginning of that pandemic, COVID-19, I didn't have YouTube at the beginning of that time. I didn't have an internet actually. I just had my books, my notebooks, and desire to study something, but I found it pretty difficult to continue to do so, to continue to study, because I didn't have anyone who was studying as well, and having some hard concept that I should have learned, having some hard exercises, I started to procrastinate, and I didn't see the motivation to study it because we didn't have the tests, we didn't have like lessons, we just had our books, and whether we were studying or not, nothing would happen. So I was not motivated to study. So having a learning community, you will try to do something in order to be smarter because you see other people do the same. YouTube is your source to communicate with your learning community. Fourth reason, watching YouTube videos, you can develop note-taking skills and adroitness in collecting the most important information. That's really important skill. Note-taking skills are equally important for both students and employees, as well as the ability to focus on the most important things. You tend to develop your note-taking skills by viewing, reviewing, and replaying the YouTube video material till you have fully grasped its essence and key points. And eventually, the last reason to use YouTube as a source of your learning journey is that you can easily create your own videos and somehow test your own knowledge by creating these videos. For example, having learned a specific topic, you are able to put the camera or your phone and try to explain this concept. You are not required to post this video so that others can watch it. You can just make this video for yourself. Payment technique consists of 4 steps. The first step is studying. All you have to do is choose a topic and start studying. The second step, teaching. Once you've completely covered the topic, it's time for you to teach it to someone else. Ideally, the person you are teaching will ask questions and probably you will try to find holes in your knowledge base. This might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's exactly what you need in order to proceed to step 3. And step 3, fill the gaps. As I mentioned, step 2 will uncover some gaps in your knowledge. Step 3 involves going back to studying, but with an intense focus on these gaps. The aim of step 3 is to remove these weaknesses and turn them into areas of strength. Step 4. Simplify. Ideally, you're already greatly improved your understanding of the target skill. However, you're not done. Now you need to simplify the content. This step is extremely effective in building your understanding of a subject. To be able to cut away clutter and explain something so clearly that even young children with limited vocabulary can understand is extremely difficult. Attempting to do this forces you to not only deeply master the information and skill, but to also grasp how all of the different elements join together. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. I remember when I had a Russian YouTube channel, I was interested in neurobiology, and quite frequently I made videos with particular topics from neurobiology, and I always tried to be well prepared for the videos. I searched for different information in the internet, I read different articles, so having the ability to create these videos, I always repeated the information. I always tried to understand information at the level so that I can easily explain this information. So that's really cool thing. Now let's talk a little bit about disadvantages of YouTube and mistakes that I did so that you can overcome the mistakes and get the best results by watching YouTube videos. The first disadvantage of YouTube is that quite frequently bloggers shorten their videos that much, so you need to use extra websites, extra sources of information in order to understand topic. And it's totally okay. I had that obstacle, and you know, I'm a kind of a person who can easily acquire some information by reading it, so it's really hard for me to perceive information visually. So I developed certain habits related to right studying. I always tried to get acquainted with information thanks to my textbook. I read the paragraph of specific information, and then I went to the YouTube and watched a short video, like the short version of that information, like repeat the most important points from that information. I remember I learned physics that way, biology that way, and other subjects I learned also that way. So I read the paragraph from my textbook, then I tried to answer the questions at the end of the paragraph, and then I opened the YouTube video and rewatched this information. Maybe you can say that it is not that productive because I'm going through this information all over and over again, but I can say that it is a kind of spaced repetition technique because usually I rewatch the YouTube video related to a specific topic not at the same day when I read the information from the book, but several days after it. So I refreshed the information in my brain by watching this YouTube video. So I can say that it's probably a good approach on grounds that I am a straight A student. So for all of that was a really great way for me to learn information. Considering that the last 3 years we have been on quarantine, so great. The next disadvantage of YouTube is the extensive range of different videos, and it's so easy to get lost or get confused with all of that information. And you know, guys, in that case I recommend you to watch no more than 2 bloggers from one particular subject, because I remember when I only started my YouTube studying journey, I was easily distracted and I tried to like review the same topic in different YouTube channels, you know, and that wasn't that productive because kind of the same concepts by different people, and it's so easy to get confused with all of that. So I developed the habit to follow the topics from my textbook. We have a textbook from the school. I had a plan. At the end of the textbook, I knew the topic that I should learn, so I started to work with the topic from the book, and then I went on the YouTube and tried to search for the video for a related topic, because you know guys, different teachers explain differently, and I remember when I was at school I had difficulties when new teachers came to our class to study the subject that another teacher was studying. So I highly recommend you to not try to watch as many different bloggers as possible, just concentrate on one or two of them. And I hope that this video motivated you to use YouTube as a learning platform. If you have personal tips related to studying on that platform, write in the comments down below, and it will be so interesting for me to read it. And see you in the next video. Bye!